Hi, everybody. I'm Tonya Eberhart, founder of BrandFace, and we help business owners and entrepreneurs differentiate themselves, and we do that through personal branding.
Hey, folks, I'm Michael Carr. I'm the COO of BrandFace. I was a client before I became a partner in the company, and we're the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe. Thank you for joining us. We got a good little show for you here today. A good topic I think you're going to be interested in.
Yep. And one of the things we want to do is talk to you today about using your brand, because guess what? If you don't, someone else will. And it doesn't mean they'll actually use your brand, but what that does mean is that they might take your position in the market or some of the things that set you apart and make you special. So we've got to put that flag in the ground before somebody else does. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the 4 ways to use your brand and not let it slip away. So number 1 thing that you must do is claim your position. Claim your position in the market. So what that means is we've got to figure out what differentiates you, what sets you apart as special from all of your competitors, and put that flag in the ground. So great example of that was when Hertz and what was the other one?
Avis.
And Avis went head to head. Remember the 2 rental car companies? This was years and years ago. And Avis realized they were not number 1 at the time. Hertz was way ahead, number 1 in their field. And
this was back when OJ was jumping.
That's right, running through the airport.
Yes.
Running through the airport to head to the Hertz rental car area.
Yep.
So Avis realized they were not number 1. So what did they do? They were very transparent. They said, hey, we're number 2. And because of that, their slogan was, we try harder. We try harder. So I'm going to read this to you. To give you a little bit of a background as to how well this worked for them claiming that position. In 1962, Avis was in search of a new advertising campaign. Since its inception, the car rental company had trailed behind the market leader Hertz. So the ad agency decided to embrace Avis's second place status as a sneaky way to tout their brand's customer service. When you're only number 2, you try harder, went the new tagline. So here's the outcome. The We Try Harder ads were an instant hit. Within a year, Avis went from losing $3.2 million to earning $1.2 million. The first time it had been profitable in a decade. So that just goes to show you that claiming that position and figuring out how you're different from everybody else is really where the gold lies. It's not how you're better. Remember what we say, better is subjective. Different is inarguable. Anybody can say, I'm better at this, I'm better at that. But when you tell how you're better at something, that makes you different. And carving out that point of differentiation is where we all get started, and claiming that position and owning it. So that's the number 1 way you use your brand or lose it.
Yes. And number 2 is create your own path. That's really important. You got to set the direction and then to dominate your niche. All right. So once you find out what your point of differentiation is, and then you set that flag in the ground, then you decide what direction you're going to go, and you do it. It's like lining up the dominoes. And if you line them up perfectly, right, then when you tip one, it tips them all. And that's what you're looking for when you create a brand. That's what a brand does for you, right? Somebody's got to set the dominoes up, but having a brand makes those extenuate into the perfect picture. Like my favorite domino thought in our workshop, we've used this before, we use this visual, but in the movie V for Vendetta, you know, if you've ever seen that movie, he just orchestrates this entire like movement. And there's a scene in it where he has set up thousands of dominoes, thousands and thousands and thousands to make this giant picture. And then it shows him about the time he's ready to just reveal it to the rest of the world. In his own lair, he flips one domino and it just cascades this most beautiful picture that's ever been laid out. And that's what we want you to think about your brand. And that's what your brand does. Once you have that differentiation and then you set your path, you're setting up those dominoes through your social media, through your website and design, through your business cards and all your platforms. That's what you're doing. If you set them up right, then they're going to fall down and make this beautiful business picture for you. So that's the second thing, is create your path after you set your flag down and said, "We own the moon," type of thing.
We own the moon. I love that. So on the heels of that, one other thing I want to say about creating your path is when you set your brand and position in the market, it does a whole lot more for you than just become a marketable brand. It actually helps put the framework and the guardrails around the business side of your business. It allows your brand to help you stay focused on the culture and the morals and ethics that you set out to, the foundation of your business was set upon in the first place. And it helps you to determine what you do day after day and where you market and how you market. So it's about business and marketing.
Focus.
It does bring in focus. And we've had a lot of people say, I thought I came into your program just to become noticed, become more recognized for being different, help draw in and attract the ideal customer. I had no idea it would impact so many other parts of my business and life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole other episode we'll tackle next time, because you can go really in depth with that. Third one is, once you claim your position and create your path, you communicate it everywhere. That's third C, communicate it everywhere. We actually just ended a Wednesday webinar that we do for all of the people in our program. And we talked about communicating everywhere and how every single thing that you do throughout the day can be some representation of what you stand for. So for instance, we have an awesome client in Queens, New York right now, and he is known, he's very successful real estate developer, real estate investor, real estate sales or broker, real estate broker. He's done so much and accomplished so much in New York. And one of the things that really sets him apart as a human being is that he is really all about mindful meditation and purpose, doing everything you do with such great purpose. And so we're working on developing that brand for him now. And we talked about the fact that as you go throughout the day, everything you do has purpose. Think about it and think about how you can express that to your clients. And we talked about doing a mindful moment of the day with him and various different things that he actually has in progress now. So I just wanted to kind of share one example of that, but think about everything you do as a communication. Think about mindful moments, watching people stand in line at the restaurant, right? They're mindful for their meal. They're just waiting in line. But think about moments that you share with people, questions you get from people, things that you do throughout the day that express what you stand for and what your brand's all about. And it is, you'll find that content comes a whole lot easier to you. Content for everything you do, not just for social media, but communicating that brand everywhere through everything you do, through your emails, your phone calls, your blog posts, your social media posts, your letters, your articles, the way you answer the phone, everything that you do. So that's number 3.
And that does become easier and easier when you've done 1 and 2. Trust us, it does.
It really
does. You do it in order. If you claim your position and then you create your path, when you start to communicate it everywhere, it's going to change the way you look at yourself, and you're going to be able to be a lot more verbal about what you do. And leading us into number 4, it'll also help you keep your promise to your customers. This is really, really big. Like Avis did in the original how we started off this. Avis knew that they were not number 1, right? So what could they do to rise? And they said, well, we'll admit to not being number 1, and then we'll use that weakness as our strength. But we try harder. And then within a year, it turned around on them, right? And that's a big deal. So keeping your promise to your customer is huge. We talk about it all the time at BrandFace. Being authentic is the most important thing that we can all do as human beings. It doesn't do us any good to paint a face on that we don't wear. Everybody in the world can see through the mask. And if you set your path and then you communicate it everywhere, you're going to be able to keep the promise to your customers. Your customers are going to read your testimonies. Your customers are going to be in your social media and see that you're not only that your brand is somebody that you authentically are. And it's very important. And if you don't do this, folks, somebody else will. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from what we're talking to you about. If you don't do it, somebody else, I promise you, will pick up the mantle and run with it. They won't have a problem with it. So don't ever let up for what you stand for. And then keep in mind that everything that you stand for should be portrayed of how that deals with and how that affects your customer. Okay. Because that's the most important part about the brand. You set the brand to be memorable, but you have to remember that part of being memorable is keeping your word. Like I tell my agents all the time, when you get a voicemail and you tell somebody, don't just say, hey, I'll call you back, or here's my number, call me back. Tell them, I'll call you back at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Please text me or let me know if there's a better time for you. If you do that, call them back at 3 tomorrow, not 2:59 and not 3:01. Call them back at 3. People register that stuff. And again, what I want you to remember is if you don't do it, somebody else, your competitor will, I promise you. So
it's all about being bold, right? What Michael teaches and what has become a signature phrase for us. And by the way, we're owning that.
You're right.
Be bold, right? We're owning that because now we have, Michael started saying be bold at the end of our webinars inside our organization a few years back. And it became such a common thing that our agents on the group webinar that we were doing each week would say, hey, be bold, right? And we even had some of them in the webinar and the show for us because they were so attached to that be bold, because they know that's what branding is all about. It's about being bold enough to say, hold on a minute. That's my spot. I'm taking it. I'm claiming it everywhere. I'm communicating it everywhere. I'm clearing the path for it, and I'm keeping the promise. And there's your recap too, by the way. So thanks guys for joining us today. So I would like to invite you guys to our Facebook group called Build Your Real Estate Brand. We have access and content in there that you won't find anywhere else. So this is just teaser stuff. Go over there if you want more. Build Your Real Estate Brand Facebook group. We have people standing by to let you in right now. And thank you all for joining us today. I see some awesome people on here. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Randy Harkness again. You're awesome. That's a childhood friend of mine. We grew up together, went to the same school together, and he is an awesome person. So, and hey, Lindsay and Sydney, and there's quite a few more on here, but just wanted to say hello to you guys and thank you for taking time out of your day to hang with us. So we appreciate it. That's right. And hey, for anybody who hasn't done it, if you're thinking about a brand, if you're hearing the word out there, personal branding, which is like a huge buzzword these days, finally, then if you don't even know if you have a brand, if you just want to talk about a brand, if you have a brand and you want to talk more about your brand, you can go to discussyourbrand.com, discussyourbrand.com, and our staff is standing by. You get a 30-minute session with them to discuss that. No obligation whatsoever, and we'll be glad to talk to you. We love it. We love personal branding. We know that it works, folks. And around here, we say that prosperity favors the bold. We're talking about prosperity, and we know that it favors the bold, and we say be bold with your brand. Thank you, Ms. Tonya. Thank you. And one last thing as we sign off here, a giant happy birthday to my 22-year-old son. That's right. Young Charles is 22. Yes. And yes. Have a bold birthday, young man. Not so bold that you can't tell your mom about it later, but have a bold birthday. All right. I love you, son. Happy birthday. All right. And we'll sign off with that. Thanks again, guys, for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.